Hello and welcome to the Screen Chronicles. I'm Colby, and with me, as always, is our Bonnie lad, Steve.
Hi.
Here to talk a little Outlander Season 6 today. Steve, how are you doing, man?
I am so good. We are talking Outlander Season 6. And if you know, we did talk about the first episode of Outlander back in March when it first started to air weekly. And then we just got really freaking busy because our favorite show, The Last Kingdom, dropped at the same time.
It was bad timing.
It was terrible timing on Outlander to be selfish enough to
I know
those bastards.
Definitely Outlander's fault, even though they released their first episode before The Last Kingdom released their season. Definitely Outlander's fault.
And Outlander probably had it announced when they were coming out way before. You know, Last Kingdom is like like Nigel Merchant's just on his phone. He's just like, released today. And he just But anyway, though, we're talking Season 6 of Outlander. If you want to listen to some of our more in-depth recap of Episode 1, do that. Honestly, I feel good that we didn't cover episode by episode anyway. I want to do that in the future, but I'm glad we didn't. Let's start out here like we normally do. Let's give a spoiler-free review. If you guys haven't seen Outlander Season 6, we'll give you this spoiler-free section. If you want to check the timestamp in the video or the podcast where we get into spoiler talks, that'll be most of the talk there. So, Colby, what did you think, spoiler-free, of Season 6, Outlander?
Yeah, unfulfilled. We know that the filming did not go according to plan. We'll dive into that a little bit more later. Overall, as a season, it was probably my least favorite season so far. And I think some of that might be because of these filming blocks that they did end up having. Mm-hmm. Because I do think there were certain times where the momentum was picking up and it was like getting really good, and then it just stopped. So I definitely was a little disappointed in this season overall. Again, the acting was great. Again, all the actors do a wonderful job. I just really think it needed a little bit more time. I found myself a little bit bored at times, so a little underwhelming. That's what I'd say.
I'd say it was. That's how I would say it. Nothing that made me hate the show happened.
No.
It's just that nothing happened, and
there's a lot
bored.
Yeah.
And then when it started to pick up, it ended immediately.
Yeah. And I agree. It's like I still love the show. Mm-hmm. It's not one of those things. I've had other shows that like a season's been so bad that it's like really tainted the show for me. But not the case here. It was just a little bland, I would say.
Yeah.
A little bland.
And as far as what was going on with the show too, I mean, the pandemic was happening when they were filming this.
Yep.
And then also you were talking about how Katrina Balfe, the actress who plays Claire, was also pregnant. So
yeah, they're having a really hard time. Yeah, they're having a really hard time hiding her belly in the show. So I think that played into it. I don't think it was just that. I think it had to do with the pandemic and the filming schedule with the pandemic and that. And they had to delay the filming. And I think they just decided to put out 8 episodes instead of like, I don't know, what they usually do is like a full like 12 episode season or something. And
10 to 12, I think.
Yeah. So,
they were filming right during the early stages of the pandemic. And I think that was back when there was lockdowns. It was the strategy of what to do was changing every 7 days, right? It was, you can't ever see anyone ever again in person. And then to like washing your hands is fine. It was, so I mean, it was changing all the time. So
there was a time where washing your hands was not fine. Like they were like, don't wash your hands.
Keep them dirty. The dirt will protect you from the vid. But that is not true, by the way. And so anyway, though, I think it was all of those things that led to that. And then how you mentioned like the pregnancy too, I think it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. Like you said, they were just like, we're spending so much money and time trying to just work around this season. Let's just end it and do the rest in season 7. And season 6 is based off of Diana Gabaldon's book, A Breath of Snow and Ashes. from her series. And
which just sounds terrible, by the way.
yes. But this covers the book. They do a season per book. This is supposed to be whatever they didn't cover in this season is supposed to carry over to the next. I remember as soon as like season 6 was announced it was coming out, they also announced and season 7's coming too. Yep. And I was like, wow, they must have a lot of confidence in this season. And now I'm just like, oh, they just knew like they had to tell the story into the next season is why.
Right. So it makes me wonder if they did finish the full episodes in this, maybe they wouldn't have said season 7's also coming.
Yeah. As far as, like you said, there wasn't anything major bad that happened. It was just really slow. Things I did like you said, acting was good. I liked seeing some things, some backstory. We'll say spoiler-free stuff of things. Those things were cool.
Some new characters that were interesting, I thought, too.
Yeah.
Some weird stuff happened. There's a couple weird things that happened that we'll get to, that are kind of fun to talk about. It'll be good.
Definitely some still like Hallmark Outlander things happen in this. There wasn't anything bad. We talked about Kenobi here recently. There wasn't anything that just made me feel like, oh, that was bad. And then there's something amazing. There was something good in Outlander that happened, and then there was just a lot of.
I would say there's some of the best. I would say this season even has some of the best acting performances from a couple of different characters that we hadn't seen sort of go to different levels.
And there's some great moments too. There's some great moments. I cried. I'll say the finale was good. The last episode of the season was really good. Episode 8. So let's just get into spoiler talk here so we can get to it.
Yeah, should we give a rating on this season?
Exactly. Colby, what is your score for season 6 of Outlander?
I'm going to go with a 6.5.
Again, and Satan will pop up and drag you straight down screaming to hell.
One of the worst scores I've given for an Outlander thing.
Yeah.
But I know we're talking between a 6 and 6.5. I go the 6.5 because, again, the acting, a couple people went to depths I hadn't seen yet, which was really good. And there were some good moments still throughout the show. And the fact that it didn't really take away from the whole show means that it still was like an okay season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And that's the thing is, that's the trouble, I guess, normally with the score. So I'm going to give it a 6.
I'm useless. Useless.
That's really low. And we rarely ever dip that low when we're talking about stuff, but it wasn't bad. The things we have in the past when we've rated things lower, there's usually something bad.
I mean, I feel like if I rate less than a 5, I didn't like it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not that I didn't enjoy watching season 6. I did because it's Outlander. And it wasn't cringeworthy bad like other shows. It was just a little boring this season. That's all.
It was boring. Not a lot happened.
So let's still love the characters. The best part of this season was there was a very limited Roger and Brianna.
Well, actually, before we get into Roger and Brianna, let's talk about the music. Because that is the very beginning part of the show. And that's, when we lived together, you were always like, skip it
every time
when any show's intro came on. But honestly, Outlander, I loved just watching and listening to the Outlander intro. Honestly,
I'll agree with you. That's one that you can enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I can sit through that one.
And they usually remix it some to each season, or the first season that was the OG, and the second one they kind of did some Francie sounds in it.
They did, which was good. It was very fitting.
And then the second half they kind of put a militia sound to it too.
Yes,
because they were going into the army with the Jacobites.
Season 4 had the Machine Gun Kelly remix. Freaking great.
Yes. It was awesome. I can't wait for Doja Cat to be in the next
Doja Cat's going to be season 7. You heard it here first.
Sing me a song. Lassie, I get
it.
So what I didn't like this season, though, is they put a guy in it, which is like, I normally don't complain about like a guy being in anything because I'm a guy, obviously, but I like the woman's version. It's just good.
Yeah, I agree. I just didn't like this version. Like, it had nothing to do with it being a guy for me.
No,
it just was this person's voice in particular. Just didn't work for me and my taste. Other people might have loved it, but I didn't.
Yeah, I think generally the fans aren't a big fan of it, but you know, and again, that's no insult to the singer performer who was the new guy on. It was just, I like the original, and
yeah,
this sounds different. I looked
maybe that's a big part of what it was too. Was just that, like, I was expecting something different, but I never got used to it, couldn't get used to it. Like, maybe if he was the one who did it first, because it's not like he's a bad singer or anything. He's very, very good, but maybe if he was the original, and that's what we knew at the beginning, maybe it'd be different. Maybe. But that was just one change that I agree I couldn't get into.
I looked up why, and they said it was because this season tells more from some more male point of view, like more of Jamie, more of Roger, than it does
Fergus,
Claire,
maybe,
and Fergus. So, but especially, I think it was Jamie and Roger that was the article I saw was talking about.
Gotcha.
I don't know if that was 100% reliable, but to me, I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of see that. Maybe even the books, you know, maybe this is even something that's based from the books, that because I know the first season, or the first book rather, I think it was all Claire's point of view. And then I think the later books, you start to switch between Claire and Jamie. So maybe this book was more Jamie, you know?
Could be. I mean, because I thought at one point in the season, I did not feel like Jamie was necessarily the focal point of the show.
No, and there's been other seasons.
Sort of the middle. The beginning, he certainly was in the beginning, because we get that awesome flashback all the way back to Ardsmuir.
Yes, and that's... Yeah,
like, I was just saying to myself going to the season, man, I miss the times that we just get to watch Jamie get whipped in the back. And I just wish I could see that again. And guess what? We got it.
We got it. Thanks.
That's all we wanted. No.
That's all we want, Outlander. More Jamie whipping.
Just getting whipped. No, just kidding.
And like, even when they were whipped, did you see too when they're like anytime someone's about to whip Jamie and then they see his back, they're just like,
oh, come on.
What's the point?
Yeah. But really awesome intro to the show. Like, back in time, I was like confused. Like, oh crap. Like, back at Ardsmuir again. I got to like get my brain like refigured, because if we look at our timeline, are we? Is this just a flashback in the show, or did Jamie go back to no?
If Jamie touched the stone, would he go back to 1742, or would
Jamie go back to the pyramids, dude? He'd go back to the Egyptians and the pyramids.
Yeah, he'd be in like 1242, or he'd go all the way to the pyramids.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Jamie, though, this season, his big arc, I would say, this season was kind of interesting, but not a lot happened with him. Other than once he got accused of rape and impregnating the daughter.
Extraordinarily frustrating.
Very frustrating. He was working still for the Major McDonald.
Yeah.
And he ends up becomes the Indian agent for them, for Major McDonald originally, and then eventually he switches back to being a rebel again, because he's like, well, my wife knows the future, and it's cooler to be on the winning side. So
yeah, that's exactly what he said.
But he's always a rebel, right? So I like that he was like back in Scotland fighting the Redcoats, and then he has to like come over here, and then he has to deal with them again. You know what I mean?
I know.
But it's really cool because he's gonna win this time, and
and he knows it. Doesn't it take the fun out of it though?
But was it still fun losing though, or did it make? But it probably made the loss more fun though too, because he's like, well, I know we're gonna.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, but that was probably, I'm confused too why you said like they decided to do that song for the show, because it didn't feel to me like they were telling more Roger's story and Jamie's story.
Mm.
They did have like Roger become like the minister, right? Like he started giving a bunch of sermons. They like had a point where I think they almost made it seem like he was going to cheat on Brianna at one point.
Yeah.
With he was like helping out at someone's house, like, oh, you're spending an awful lot of time at this person's house.
There was a widow who came with, I think, Christie in his group when they came. And so she was a widow and just needed help. And Brianna, because she's from the future and knows things and where women are treated more equally and things like that, she's pretty much independent at the house. So he's like, well, I'll go around and do stuff somewhere else then. Yeah. Wherever needed. So, and he's just a nice guy too.
Right.
But Jamie does end up becoming the rebel, but nothing big. Oh, actually, some things kind of big happen with that. Him and your big buddy, Lord John Grey.
Yeah, the man. Yes.
That was fun, reuniting. And John Grey's actually comes to check out, make sure Jamie isn't working for the rebels. That's what he's being accused of. And then they go and they help this shop owner from being attacked by some of the people who are starting the rebellion. And then Jamie just breaks his heart by telling him he's going to the meeting as one of them later that night. That was interesting there, because they're generally same side, same team, but just there he goes again, going to the Jacobites, going to the rebellion.
I know. I mean, and John Grey is, through and through.
He's British,
British
Empire all day.
There's a lot of interesting things with Jamie being the Indian agent and him sort of not being sure if he wants to give the guns to the Indians, and he kind of upsets them at first with that.
That was a more interesting episode, I would say. I would say the first two episodes were fair. Was that the first two? But the first one I thought was a decent setup, and then this one here.
I agreed. I thought the first two got the ball rolling, and then it dipped, and then the end was picking it up. Just kind of like sometimes that happens in a season with like over 12 episodes. Is you get like a little dip in the middle, and then like at the end it gets, and then you think of it as a great season. Where I just don't think this season had the chance to do that. I think it was going to happen though. And right, so Jamie's he's like, do I really want to give these guns to people that I know in the future might just turn around and use them against me? But I think he comes to terms with it once he starts hearing from Ian, who kind of opposes Jamie's opposition to giving the guns.
And also just from Claire learning about the mass genocide of the Native Americans, he's kind of like, let's give them what we can. Then let's help them out. And that was a fun episode, because we also get one of the things that I thought was interesting this season was more backstory on Ian. Because we remember he came back after being taken in by the Mohawk. At the end of, what was that, season 4? And he came back in season 5, and he now had a Mohawk, and he's dressed up all Native American and he's got the skills, and he's quiet, but he's also sad.
He's changed. Yeah, he was sad. Yeah.
And I don't think we ever really found out what happened. I think I was kind of leaning towards maybe his wife died or was killed.
Yeah.
But it turns out the same Keraton.
I don't know how to say
Keraton. Kaheroton. Sorry for butchering that character's name, but we saw him back when he had actually taken Roger back in season 4. He was one of the Mohawk Native Americans who had taken Roger back up to the tribe in upstate New York. Fancy living in upstate New York. And,
that's right.
And then Ian is the one who gets traded at the end to go with them, and he passed the final test.
He did. It was awesome.
So
maybe one of the all-time Outlander moments, by the way.
It was really awesome. And we got to see the flashback and his sort of after he got accepted, they're just like, all right, let's start painting you up. Let's start shaving that head.
This is super cool.
That was pretty cool. And then we find out
the pain. Oh, this hurt to watch.
What?
Ian?
Oh, but his wife or
Yeah.
what? Okay. I thought it was like
Yeah, like
something
what
else that can
happened.
happen.
No,
Yeah.
no, what happened with him? Like, and like, like he couldn't have a kid, right? Like,
Yeah, it was him and his wife couldn't bear a child,
yeah,
and eventually they just exile him, and she gets back with this keratin guy, the Native
pain.
Americans, and then she has a baby, and it's just like, oh, damn,
It felt like awful for Ian.
yeah. They usually, I think, in shows usually just show the woman being, infertile or sterile or whatever it is that might not be able to have a child. But so it was kind of that's what I was expecting, as I thought it was his wife, and I was like, it's not going to change. She's going to have with this guy, nothing's going to change, and they're going to kill her or exile her too or something.
Right.
But it was like, nope, right away.
Yeah,
Bam.
a lot of people assume it's the woman's fault, but this time it was Ian's fault. And
It was Ian. He's got that
That's,
slow sperm.
that's yeah.
So that was tough.
It's really hard to see that, and then you can understand his demeanor when he comes back. Like I remember he came back and it was almost like he had PTSD. Like it was like he saw some things, but this explains a lot.
Yeah. It was just a cool episode too, because they're at this sort of meeting area, and there's this other like trapper trader guy who insults Keratin, and they go to have a duel then.
Yeah.
And he shoots early and misses. And so then they're like, all right, Keratin, it is your shot now. And he just walks, and he could have just killed him, He could have just walked up and killed him, because the guy turned early before they were doing a gentleman's duel with pistols. So that was pretty cool then too, to see that. That was a pretty cool moment from the show.
Anyway, Jamie did end up, after kind of hearing a little bit more about Ian's backstory, and like you said, what Claire, he ended up giving the guns. Another big part of this season had to do with a character that we met in episode 1 named Tom Christie. Now, we met him at Ardmere Prison when Jamie was there. And you remember how Jamie was like, when we met Jamie in Ardmere back in, what was it, season 2? No, season 3? Right?
Yeah.
And he was like the guy, and he like rose up to being the guy. I think Tom Christie was sort of the guy, right? Before Jamie was the guy. And Jamie saw him in the prison foreman, like doing sort of cool secret little handshake thing, like tapping the palm, and Jamie took notice of that and was just like, oh crap, okay, this is some cool secretive shit that I like and I want in on. And Jamie becomes a Freemason, and Tom Christie also being a Freemason. They create this sort of brotherhood at the prison where they united. And I know we covered a lot of this right in our season 1 or episode 1 talk, but that's where we meet Tom Christie, and Tom Christie gets to see Jamie get the lashes and stick up for a weaker man, an older man who was the one, I guess, deserving of the lashes at the time, because according to the prison guards, he had a tarpon. What do they call it? The colors.
Tartan.
They had the colors. So, but he has had beef with Jamie since then.
And then when he comes to the camp then in present day, or not present day, past day, but current timeline,
right?
That the show was
in the future from the flashback at the beginning of the show.
So remember, Claire was over here in 1942, and then she goes back
right
1742, of course, and then she goes through a period of time there, and then she comes back to the 1700s. Lives out more of her life, goes back.
But Tom Christie this whole time has just been over here, just straight. No jumps.
Yeah.
No jumps.
This is Claire.
This is Tom Christie. Yeah.
Now, in the show, the show has done this. We start here, then we go back, and back.
Right.
And then here, and then here, and then this season, of course, we start out here. And then we go to here. But we don't go back.
But nobody at that time, even though the show started here, nobody did this.
No. Let's make that clear.
So, goddamn, that would have been too much. I don't know.
No, never.
So anyway,
if we didn't do it this season talk, that would be a waste. It would be a waste.
I thought it was funny though, like when he does show up. And like the ad Jamie had gone out, like, and it sent out word that, like, yeah, any of my brethren from Ardsmuir prison will be welcome on my property. And so Roger was there to meet because Jamie was out doing something at the time that Tom Christie showed up. And Roger like took the liberty of just being like, oh, well then, yeah, like, sure, you can stay. Like, welcome in. And like the look on Jamie's face when he heard that like Roger gave permission for Tom Christie to stay, it was just like, oh no.
And like as soon as you see Tom Christie, you're just like, this guy is gonna be a pain in the ass. You know what I mean?
He's your stereotypical witch hunting religious twerp who it just is really frustrating. And I thought a lot in this season, like, and I do think his character grows. I think it's an interesting growth. And it's a little bit of like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. It's like oh cool. Oh no, shit, he's still a shitty guy. Oh wait, he's growing. He seems more understanding. Nope, he's still a really nice guy.
Yeah. He would do like something nice, and then he'll go and he'll like whip his daughter's ass.
Yeah.
With right after that. Or
yeah, there was a point where like him and Claire got on like good enough terms that Claire could be like, oh, you know what? Why don't you take this book? And he like takes it like, oh, okay, cool. This is cool. And then sends back like, this is filth. And it's just like, oh, damn.
Very pious. He's very pious.
Very pious. But it's an interesting character, I think. Like, I thought he was a great actor, and as irritating as he was on screen, I think he did add a lot to the show this season.
Yeah.
And him and his 2 children.
Yeah. Malva.
And Allan.
And Allan, who
yes!
we talked about, he's from Merlin. He's
Merlin. He played
Mordred. Is that it? Mordred?
Yeah.
Yes, Mordred. And he started out, he was like a thief in the show, and then he gets punished, and then he just kind of really doesn't do much throughout the rest of the season until the end, when Jamie gets accused, and then he's just one of the people that's just hating on Jamie.
Of course. And Malva is a very interesting character. She has this sort of like innocence about her at the beginning. She's this just girl who's just been raised by this abusive and pious father.
Yeah, she's like, I'm pretty and cute, and then her dad beats her, and you're like, oh man, it sucks. And
yeah, and like Claire, I think, is sympathetic toward her at the beginning, and even like I think Malva was showing interest in what Claire does, and it's like you can't really figure Malva out through this whole season in the beginning. It's like, okay, is she really interested, or is she like a pawn of her father who's like trying to spy? You really can't tell at the beginning. And I think Claire sees her and feels bad for her and how she's raised, and does want, to do right by her and do good things for her. So it's really interesting too, because her dad is definitely a believer in witchcraft. And in this season, once again, Claire is accused of being a witch because she's a healer and because she's created this ether.
Yes.
That will put people to sleep.
Also this funny funeral scene that happens too.
Oh my God, this is crazy. Yeah,
she's like, oh, she's not dead. She's still alive. You just have to check her pulse, and then brings the woman brings her back to life.
Right. Right. So she said the woman had an aortic aneurysm. At this funeral thing that I think Roger was presiding over. And yeah, so it made it look like to these people that don't know anything about medical science that Claire resurrected this woman for a couple minutes. It was a pretty wild scene too, even like to watch.
That was a funny. It was funny, and it was like, then it was like good-hearted too.
Yeah.
Because like she's saying goodbye, and they're kind of playing with the idea of what if you actually got to be there and hear what people said at your funeral kind of thing,
Sure. I think she was upset too what she was buried in, like she wanted to be buried in something different than what she was, which is pretty funny.
And she was just like, just instantly wakes up and starts like bitching at her son.
Yeah. It was a good scene. It was definitely a good scene.
That was fun.
But Claire again is being accused of being a witch. It's like, man, this was season 1. When was that?
Yep.
Back season 1.
Back in season 1.
Man.
When she saves the kid who had, I think, seizures or something,
Yeah.
and it was the priest was like, no, he's possessed.
Yeah. Exactly. And she's now created this ether that's going to help her with surgery. She's going to help her put people to sleep so she can help. Because what Claire likes to do, she likes to help people. She's taken that Hippocratic oath, and that counts, people. If you go back 100 200 300 years, that oath is still valid, even though technically you haven't taken it yet. Boom. Mind blown. So anyway.
Yes. Let's just jump on to Claire here then.
Okay.
We're talking about, we talked about in our spoiler-free review about how the season was kind of boring. Not a lot of stuff happened. And we're mentioning a lot of things that happened. I would say the big letdown with Claire is she was one of the things. She didn't do anything. She was like going around. Yeah, she was like treating people, but it wasn't really much of anything. And how you mentioned the ether, again, that was to help with surgery and medical treatment, but it was also for her to take so she could sleep because she had PTSD from the atrocity that happened at the end of season 5.
Oh my God.
I can't even believe that happened. Diana Gabaldon, why are you like that?
It's like
freaking mean.
I think we complained about this already, but like it's like Claire's been through so much, and you feel like at that point at the end of season 5, it's like Claire, her worst days are behind her, and like one of the most horrible incidents happens. Then
I know she's like an old woman now too. It's like, why would you do that?
And we'll get to Fergus later, but that also deeply affected Fergus in this season. That incident. But let's stay on Claire here. So Claire, she's like abusing this ether. And I found this whole flashback. So, what's it? Tom Brown? What's his name?
Yeah, it's Brown. I forget what his name is. It Tom Brown?
I feel like it's not Tom Brown. I don't know.
But
so the guy who raped Claire in season 5 keeps really appearing to her. What's that?
He's the creepy Brown brother.
Yeah, he's a really good actor, but man, can he play a creepy guy? And it was kind of scary at times, like when he'd show up in a mirror or something, or
Richard Brown's brother. We forget his name, but
and
that was him.
And he kept appearing to her as part of this PTSD and this trauma that she experienced. She'd wake up from dreams of the incident. She could not sleep, and so she'd take this ether to cope with that. And obviously, that's not a very healthy thing to do. And you just find her passed out in that little bed that she has in the in her medical room there.
Yeah.
And, it was becoming a big issue, and Jamie started to pick up on it, and she her functionality was affected because of it. You know what I mean? Like it really affected her ability to I think clearly and kind of be the 100% awesome Claire that we need her to be.
Yeah. Which is, obviously when something that traumatic happens to you, you're gonna have to go through something like that, But I mean, it was just, I think like how you said before we started podcasting, it became just sort of for the show, it was just very repetitive.
Totally.
It was is going about her day, sees Brown, messing with her head, whispering things to her, takes the ether, naps, or gets alcohol and naps, or and it was just that was it. That was the show. That was her arc over and over again. It
just seemed repetitive.
Yeah, I would say she didn't really come out of it or anything. I would say she had more of an arc from her rape in that episode than she did this whole season, where she's traumatized. Then she says she has worse things in her life and she's going to focus on those things. And this one, it was just that cycle over and over again. And again, would that probably happen if that happened? Probably. But for a show, for 8 episodes to keep doing it, that it just wasn't interesting, But
I guess it did have an impact on the outcome. Like it was important that she was still taking the ether up into the later episodes of the season when Malva is found dead in the grass.
Yes.
Which was wild. Which was crazy because like Claire remembers seeing Malva like walking up, I think, before she takes the ether.
Mm-hmm.
And she falls asleep, right?
Yeah.
And then she wakes up later and goes and finds her dead.
Well, she has a dream where she basically says, "Stop saying these things about my husband or I'll fucking kill you."
Yeah, that was wild too.
It's like, "You get my husband's name out your fucking mouth."
It was crazy. That was cool. And it kind of created this cool thing in the later episodes. And this is kind of where I thought the show, that might have been the point when they find her dead, that the show and that vision where it started to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't know if that was episode 6. I think it was the end of episode 6 when that happened. And it created this cool thing in the next episode where you didn't really know what happened, right?
Yeah.
It was like, could Claire have done it?
Yeah, that's
could
exactly.
Claire have maybe just not remembered doing it? Like maybe she was in such a altered state because of the ether that she like, I don't know, people sleepwalk, people do stuff and don't remember it. Yeah. It didn't seem likely.
If she was like Claire, so high or inebriated, right?
Like, is it possible? So it kind of created a cool little dynamic in the show.
Absolutely. So that is one thing it did.
Yeah, it was just frustrating. I think maybe I was just more frustrated with it that she kept going back to it, and
something frustrating. Yeah, for sure.
But it was repetitive. It was repetitive.
Like the season 2 after Jamie's horrible rape and torture and psychological mashing by the evil man. Oh my God, I'm blanking his name. Jack Black. That's right. Jack Black.
Black Jack Randall.
Oh, Jack Black Randall. And that was only the first half of season 2, though, that they did that, right? So it was him being afraid of Claire and having flashbacks and those sorts of things. So again, it was only half the season. And the thing is with that too, time was passing during that time, right? So it's not like they're saying, "Oh, we got better in 4 days or 4 weeks." They were on their mission for a while. Same thing here. They could have done with this season is they were doing something for a while, and maybe she moves past it. I would say, they could have had the murder and the twist, several episodes earlier, so that ether and everything and her trauma was still into play, but now we have something interesting hooking you in.
Right. Well, I think you needed more time, I guess, also for Malva to do stuff because Malva was
a horny little bitch.
She was, and she. I think maybe the most frustrating thing that happened was when she got pregnant and then blamed Jamie.
Yes,
said it was Jamie's, and it was just like Jamie's been so good for so long, and people still believe like he's been these people's leader, like on this place. And Tom Christie has been this guy who's come and planted this bad seed into people's heads about Jamie and like casted doubt. I think it's also like because Jamie had to become a little bit more authoritarian with Tom, like because Tom was starting to like set up some religious stuff, and Jamie had to kind of come in and be like, "Yeah, okay, it's a church, but it's also for everyone. It's also a meeting place. It's also maybe a school, right?" Mm-hmm. So, trying to like not put him and his religion down, but like be more inclusive as a society.
Yeah, and also not have him start like a place of power for himself. Right?
Exactly, making sure Tom doesn't get too powerful because
this is Fraser's Ridge, not
Fraser's Ridge. It's not Christie's Ridge. Tom Christie's just been trouble ever since he got there, and so Malva to accuse Jamie was wild. And then for people to freaking believe it, like, really irked me.
And like, how is no one gossiping too? Because like, she's so horny. She's like going around, like Jamie at one point, he's like, I'm sure there's a lot of men courting you. You're so pretty and young. And she's like, oh, please don't say it to anyone. And then she like, and how she figures out what Jamie looks like naked is she sees Jamie and Claire doing it in the stables, just rocking the horse house.
Yeah, she's like spying on him, and it's like, what is this girl doing?
She's
and
like
this is where like she's been shady this whole show, and I'm always trying to figure her out. When I see her, I'm like, is she really just trying to escape her father, or is she a little like evil inside as well? She even talks about her own mother was accused and killed of being a witch, Malva's mother.
That's right.
And
yeah. And then we see Malva too, fucking Mr. Henderson.
That's right.
In the church. And again, Roger walks in on her, and she immediately just turns into a bitch. And like, he's like, you can't do this in here. Like, come on. Yeah. He's like, your brother and your dad are literally walking up here in a church, and you're banging a married man. Yeah. And she's like, well, if you say anything, I'm gonna tell everyone you're screwing the widow that you're helping out. And he's just like, oh. And
because she understands here, these people believe freaking anything.
I know. And she walks out the back, and then Mr. Henderson like is just like doing his belt and comes out and is like, hey, Tom Christie, do you want me to help you load up anything? And he's like, oh, sure thing, Mr. Henderson, help me out. Like, literally just got done banging his daughter.
Jesus Christ.
So, ugh. But it's just like, how is no one talking about this though? Like, how is like no one like, oh no, it wasn't Jamie. Like, there's like 6 other guys who might be that the father.
I know. And it's just like
it's a small town. It's Fraser Ridge.
Fraser's Ridge, and it's like Jamie's been just and for everyone to think Claire killed her too at the end is like, it's just so frustrating.
How many people does she have to fucking heal before
I know.
Before you get all the way off her back?
It's
like
crazy.
For real.
You think they had earned like their respect by this point? They've got their own like city developing here. So I know. Frustrating, but
that's people though.
But Malva was not the only one who was horny this season.
Who?
Lizzy.
Oh my
god. Talk about weirdest moment of the season.
This is funny.
It was funny and weird, and I still don't know how I feel about it. Like, I don't have a twin brother, but like, I don't think I'd be cool with it. I don't think I'd be down with it if I had a twin brother.
No.
But
she does them both.
She does both of the Beardsley boys and tries to marry. It does marry, I think, both of the Beardsley boys.
Fast both of them.
They hand fast. She gets tricky with that because Jamie is like totally. When Jamie finds out, Jamie's like totally against it. He's like, "This is freaking weird," and like, no, one of you has to leave. He tries to make one of them leave.
Yeah, and then he says, "Well, you have to marry one then," and that's what. Then she gets hand fasted once with him.
Yeah,
and he's like,
it's
"All right,"
because she got pregnant.
Yeah. And he's pregnant. Like, all right, I fixed this. You're hand fasted to this one. Yeah. And then she goes to Roger in the middle of the night, and she's like, hand fast me and him, the other brother. And so then he hand fasts the 2 of them. And he's like the acting reverend here recently. So
it works, right? Smart Lizzy. Oh man. By the way, we got to meet Caitlin O'Ryan, who plays Lizzy at the Kick-Ass event. She was so nice, very nice. Same with Lauren Lyle, Cesar Domboy, and Tim Downey and Tom Brittany. They were all super nice people.
Yes.
But Caitlin O'Ryan was like especially
very nice. Yeah,
very nice. And and she talked about this like the incestual 3-way that she was having with
she's like, Lizzy brothers. Grew up this season.
I know, that was so funny.
Those the brothers are played by the same actor. It's not like twin brothers. It's the same guy. I mean, it's not like hard to believe, but I didn't know if they were twins or if it was the same guy.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Paul Gorman is Josiah and Kezzy Beardsley.
Is that right?
Yeah, I looked. I found that. Yeah.
That's crazy because like I was wondering because he was originally going to the thing. I was like, oh, it's so weird that he's going and not his brother. Like, why would they separate that? You know? And wait a minute, this can't be the same Paul Gorman. This is 63 years old, and I didn't know that. That's wild.
I didn't know that either. I thought they might
I
have had
just
twins.
assumed. Why wouldn't you just get two twin actors?
And it seems harder, right? Especially because they're in a lot of scenes together.
Yeah, but I did notice like there were definitely some scenes here where they were not together.
Yeah.
So.
There were scenes where they weren't together, and there was two types of scenes. There was scenes where they were together, and ones where they weren't together.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But Lizzy was in all of them.
Yeah, yes, all
And-
the scenes Lizzy was in. So anyway, yeah, that was her big arc this season. Not really too much else helpings with that here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's talk about though. We talked about Claire, her nightmares with the Brown. Richard Brown, if you remember, his brother was the more reasonable of the two back in the previous season, and when they brought his body to him at the end of season 5, one of my again, I hate the moment where Claire gets raped by everyone, but I love the moment when Jamie asks her who was it, and she just like pretty much like indicates all of them. That Jamie just turns out and said, "Kill them all," and they just fucking slay them all.
It was awesome
Because they were all dicks. Even the guy who was from the future didn't help her. You know, I don't know if he was in on it, but he at least didn't help her. So he's
exactly. It was surprising. You'd think he would.
What a piece
and
of shit.
I'll tell you what, I was pretty satisfied that the brother of Richard Brown, what's his name? Oh God,
or
names.
Yeah,
I have an easier time remembering Last Kingdom names than Outlander names.
But Bad Brown.
What's his name?
Bad guy Brown.
No. Well, Richard Brown.
Richard Brown was this season. The brother is still.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Bad Brown. When he goes to Richard Brown, I was actually a little satisfied that Richard Brown, like even though he brought his brother's dead body, was understanding.
He was allowed.
Yeah,
is what I think he said. I think he's
and
allowed, and I understand it, but he is my brother.
So I'm contractually obligated to avenge him and get revenge.
Yeah, I have to. Otherwise,
it's in the contract.
It's in the contract.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Binding.
See? And so this season, he's on the safety patrols,
which has done no safety. No progress in the safety in the area,
but it's really called like the safety inspector. It's something like that. But it makes me think of the safety patrol. I don't know about you, but I always wanted to be on safety patrol when I was in elementary school because they had the sash and they were like,
it's power. It's a powerful position.
Power. And then I finally got on it, and a girl started throwing Marissa Galbraith. I'm throwing you under the bus here. You started throwing snowballs at the rest of us. And then we all start throwing snowballs back at her. She goes inside, tells the librarian, Mr. Adams, that we started throwing snowballs at her because she started at us. And then we all lost our safety patrol except her.
God. That's Malva right there.
So screw you, Marissa Galbraith, because safety patrol was like my elementary dream. I finally get it for one goddamn day.
I think she knew that you didn't need that power. I think she knew what she was doing, and she saw it was a danger. And I think that probably the rest of the students in the school applauded her for what she did on that day.
See, I feel like it's made me more tyrannical since then, and I kind of want revenge.
So now you're jaded.
You're
jaded.
I want power so I can now do evil to like compensate.
So like next
for that.
time you'll become like safety patrol Sauron. Next time you get your sash,
if I'm ever on safety patrol again, I will. I am like going to start undermining everyone else and just, oh man. But I am still mad about that, by the way. I'm not even kidding. I think about that on and off, dude. Like I just told my mom this story like last time I was home again. And
my God.
So when Richard Brown,
Bright.
Christie, you know.
But
Anyway, though, he's this season, and he's the one from the first episode who like comes in and like tries to ruin Jamie's cool Fraser Ridge thing going on here with the major, and then eventually ends up making Jamie then whip what's his name again? Christie's
Allan.
son, Allan.
Yeah, for stealing the powder horn.
Exactly. And so he's just being a dick all season. He's like shooting at young Ian one time in the woods, his men, and then it comes around then to the finale after Claire is accused then of murdering Malva because she was trying to save her and covered in blood, and she's now accused Jamie.
Trying to save the baby.
She's trying to save the baby.
So that's part of why she was covered in blood, is she found Malva dead and tried to like dig into her to see if she could save the baby.
And so Richard Brown is one who sort of starts off the finale then when he comes to try and arrest Claire.
Yeah.
And she's like, I already went with one of you before. That is not happening again.
Right.
Which I think was smart. Even though he says later, after he separates her from Jamie, and I was like, if this happens again, I'll write a stern letter to Diana Gabaldon if she rapes Claire again. But like when they were taking her away, I was like, what? You can't do this again. And he's like, I'm not going to do it. My brother was allowed. I think he says that again.
Yeah.
And but he's like, but this is for my brother, and that's when he takes her away to prison. So that's his role this season. Who else? Before we get into the finale stuff too, let's talk about Roger and Brianna this season too. You mentioned they weren't in it a lot here this season, but they are still some main characters. They were also they started here. So remember, Claire started here.
Oh my God.
Went back to here. Goes to here, right? Roger and Brianna, and then she goes back to here.
But where does Brianna go?
Brianna goes to where Claire is here. And right now, the both of them are here. Also, Roger then later comes here as well, and now he is on the same.
Amazing that maybe we've talked about this before, that they go to the same time.
Yeah,
where like other characters like what was her name? Galis went to a bigger jump. Like she went later and wound up earlier than Claire.
Yeah, Claire left from here to here. And remember, Galis, so Claire was here, Galis here, Claire went from here to here. Galis went from here to here. So if you look at those lines, But yeah, so it is interesting. And I think the show, I don't know if this was from the show or if I read this somewhere when I was looking up why. I think at least the writing excuse for why that is because it's about how you're drawn to someone. Yeah. And like that's how you go. So Brianna was, drawn to Claire, and that's why she went to but again, why didn't she go back to like 1742 when she was in Scotland? Why didn't she get drawn to that time period when Claire was in the past? You know what I mean? Or was it because Claire had already gone to the past and come back to here, so she's not in the past anymore? Yeah. But time travel, anytime you start digging too deep into it, it just goes crazy. You're gonna come up with a pile of ants. I know. Or haggis, Or haggis. You're gonna find some haggis.
Praying mantis, by the way, on my front door when I got home. Fun fact today.
What'd you do with them?
Gigantic.
Yeah.
This big. Swear to God. Huge freaking guy. Scared the shit out of me. Like I'm like looking down at my keys, like fobbling with my keys to open the door, and it's on the screen, and I look up and it's just staring at me. Like it was like sideways, and it literally turned its head like that. Like, you want something? Like, you shall not pass. It was like, I just like opened the door. I was like, I am going to go inside the apartment now. And I just shut it really fast so it didn't eat me. I've seen those things eat birds.
Really?
I'm not that much bigger than a bird. So, yeah, no, seriously, look it up. They'll eat like birds.
Ooh, look that up, people. We'll link a video in the description below.
But they'll catch them at least. They'll catch them and then they'll
chomp
chew
on
on
them.
them, chew on them. So that they do catch birds though. They're like they're that
definitely gonna
quick
look it up.
and yeah. Anyway, who were we talking about?
Roger and Brianna. They are in.
Why? Why?
So, like we said, Roger's acting Reverend here, which is I think is cool for him to like sort of fill that role out.
It's cool. It actually,
Or his, like adopted father.
I've
figure.
hated on them in the past, and I think Richard Rankin is a great actor.
Yeah.
But they were better this season for sure. Although he was annoying when he let Tom Christie stay. He was annoying.
Yeah.
But
But he didn't know. He didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He didn't know. I mean, he was like, yeah, he said everybody was at Ardsmuir can stay for sure.
Yeah.
But I would say overall this season he's less annoying than in past seasons.
It would be very tough being a man back then, and he was someone who, was from, modern
It wouldn't be
times.
tough to be a woman back then at all.
No, not. But I'm just saying though. You go from like modern life where you can go to the store and get things. You don't have to worry about fighting other tribes of men or being in a even then after the 40s there's no war on American soil.
There's a certain ruggedness that you can't, unless you grew up like that, you can't.
That would be
match it. You can't
exactly
even replicate it if you were born in very comfortable times, growing up fairly comfortably like Roger was.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was always like the moments, and then the moments where he's like doesn't want to have sex with Brianna unless she marries him. Like right now, like those were the moments. Him doing that, and then just having a tough time being.
Yeah, I think
courageous.
I was so annoyed with them when they were fighting a lot, and it just seemed unreasonable. It seemed like one of them would be reasonable, and the other one would be like lashing out, and then it would be like it would switch. Like the other one would be reasonable, and the other one would be acting out, and it just like guys, get it together.
Yeah, but this season, what I like is he's masculine in the sense that he like knows what he wants to do, and he's in charge of being the Reverend, and he's being a good father figure to their kid.
He saves a baby from the river.
He saves Fergus's baby.
We'll get to Fergus's baby in a second.
Yeah. And then him and Brianna though don't really do much. Brianna, I would say, does even less. I think she works with her mom some and figures some things out to sort of help the town with things, but generally doesn't.
They were
do
less prominent than Marsali and Fergus.
Oh yeah, I would say for sure.
Because I found sort of after revisiting the show, I thought Marsali and Fergus were probably the most prominent thing that stood out to me this season, or among the most prominent things that, like, when I looked back on the season of strong acting and interesting storylines.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
So let's get to that in a second here, but I agree with you. I think it was cool that Roger found his sort of calling at this time period.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of let him fit in more to the time period.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. He's like fitting in now. Yeah. And so again, one of the things though that happens though with two of them that I did like, that I really loved this moment, the three of them, towards the end, I forget where they're going, but they're going somewhere together in the woods, and the son has lice, so they need to cut his hair, and they find a birthmark on the side of his head right above his ear, and Roger starts explaining what it is. He's like, oh, that's nothing to worry about, that's just a birthmark, it's congenital, it's genetic, you inherit it. And he's like, oh, my dad had one and I have one, and he's like and so that was just awesome.
Awesome because
I'm starting to tear up now just thinking about.
They made the kid sort of look like Bonnet.
Exactly.
Like he had blonde hair. A lot of kids have blonde hair when they're kids, and then they grow out of it. And Bonnet had the blonde hair, so they were like, yeah, it really seemed like it was Bonnet's kid for a while.
Seemed like
and
that's what they were committing to.
They thought, right, they were committed to it being, but they were going to raise it. So that was awesome to see,
because he was raising him regardless, even if
Right.
it was Bonnet's, even if it was a child of rape, he was like, whatever, I'm gonna do it. And yeah, it was really satisfying when that happened. And then he's like, I'll get a haircut too, I think.
Yep.
So we can have our matching birthmarks out. So we know Roger's gonna be bald next season.
Yep. Which I don't know how.
Bald with a beard, Roger.
Yeah.
I don't know. He might look. He might look awesome.
Dougal. Will he look like Dougal?
Might
We'll
look
see.
Dougalish. Roger grows a mean goddamn beard.
He
grows
does.
a mean beard.
If he does one thing well, it's that. And giving sermons.
And impregnating his wife. I think.
And impregnating his wife that he actually did. It just took a while to find out.
Yes.
Yes.
But I think they had a pretty good sex scene between the two of them.
Mhm.
You know.
Plot twist.
Good plot twist.
Plot twist. Bonnet also has a birthmark. In the same place.
Diana Gabaldon would do that too. She would do that. Oh yeah. Speaking of
Next
Dan,
season.
I almost said Dan Bonnet. Speaking
No,
of
we can't.
Stephen Bonnet,
I know. Stephen Bonnet, he's dead now, so we can't even find out.
you remember though they had his like eyes in a jar in that one bar or something that one time. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Ooh.
why? I was like,
Why not?
Like remember he got shot in the head in a lake?
Yeah.
Like who went out
Who
there and
swam out there
got his eyes
with a spoon?
Why?
Like, but
It was cool
Bonnet.
though. Stephen Bonnet
Yeah.
was in this season.
just have a little piece of Bonnet in the season, and that was cool. And they put up the actor's name underneath the eyeballs.
He's
But
method.
anyway,
He's method.
yeah, he's method. Like he actually had his eyeballs scooped out.
Yeah.
They interview him, and after the season, he's sitting there with sunglasses and the stick. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed being part of this season. Was glad to be asked back. I wasn't expecting it, seeing as I got shot in the head last season.
So I thought the fans really enjoyed my cameo.
Yeah. No, just happy to be back. Just happy to be back any way I can.
It was really worth the $400 I got paid to give up my eyes
Oh my god.
for a brief scene.
Amazing.
So let's jump then to like you said, one of your most memorable moments from the season here with Fergus and Marsali from
memorable, frustrating, redeeming at times. It was Fergus has been sort of a favorite character ever since he showed up and had grown up in the show.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah.
He's a staple of the show. He is a Fraser. Like,
I love that moment. That's one of my favorite moments from the show.
Yeah.
We talk about it in our season 3 talk, but when Jamie gives him the name Fraser when they get married, that was amazing.
And just like Claire has demons this season from her traumatic experience, Fergus has demons that he's battling. And the first, actually, and I would say he kind of has more than one demon or come out this season, but he's sort of not around in the beginning. And Marsali's really frustrated. Marsali has bruises on her arms, and it's weird because you're like, you think to yourself when you're watching this, there is no way Fergus beats her. Like that would be like Woody from Toy Story, just
beating Andy
on Bo Peep. Like, no way, dude. Fergus is too sweet. Come to find out that the bruises are because Fergus is dealing with his frustration by drinking a lot of alcohol, and Marsali is actually a little aggressive with him when he drinks alcohol and starts like physically like hitting him, and he holds her so she stops hitting him. And those, I guess, from holding her, she got the bruises on her forearms.
And that can definitely happen. Just gripping. I remember
just gripping, and some people bruise easily too.
Yeah,
like,
I remember Becky. When I was palpating her ankle or something when we were like in lab back in PT school. Like she came in and like there was just a bunch of bruises where my thumbs were like digging in around her ankle. I was like, Jesus, I'm sorry. Like I was just trying to fill your navicular.
I know. I remember when I had to bail you out of prison for battery.
Oh man,
but,
great friend.
So anyway, she bruised up, and that was concerning.
Yeah, but it was like, what?
And we see Fergus, and this dude looks whipped. Like he looks just beaten down. And it come to find out he is feeling a tremendous amount of guilt for not being there to protect Marsali. And Marsali even says, like, well, I could defend myself. I didn't need you there. And that makes him feel worse. Like, she's trying to make him feel better. That makes him feel worse because he's like, you shouldn't have to defend yourself. Like, I should have been there to protect you guys. And I wasn't. And he's beating himself up for it.
It's like, why are they letting him run the distillery too when he's clearly an alcoholic?
I was thinking that,
like
everybody
he just like comes, he like comes away from it just looking like 5 o'clock shadow, hair all fucked up, like pale white, like huge bags under his eyes. And Jamie's like, "How's it going over there?" He's like, and he's like, "All right, keep working."
I know. I was
like, what the hell?
I know, they're just letting him do this. It was frustrating. So it comes to time because remember, Marsali's pregnant and they're gonna have a kid. And I guess she's got to have a C-section. I think like Claire's thinking like, oh my God, this kid is not turning the right way, or she's not opening up here to come out. So I might have to do a C-section. And these times a C-section is extreme. Like it's probably going to die.
No,
if from losing too much blood if they do a C-section. So they go to find Fergus, and I think it's Roger, right?
Yeah,
he goes
Roger.
and has a heart-to-heart kind of bro thing. Like, she needs you right now. Like, Fergus steps up. Fergus fucking steps up
and fucks his wife until that baby comes out.
No, but he did. He came when he needed to be there. It was...
he came.
That came out wrong. That came wrong. He arrived at the premises of Marsali when God damn it, not that premises, in the room where it happened. He was there, and at the time it was like, okay, like he did what a good husband needs to do. Just lay some pipe. And
Claire was like, you need to fuck that baby out of her.
That's the solution for everything.
That's all we know how to do. That's all we know how to do. That's such, it was Claire that said it, but it was like definitely a guy that taught her that. He's like, yeah, sometimes if the babies are coming out, you just need to stick a dick in there. You just need to put a dick in there.
I know. I was like confused what was going on at first because he like started like kind of, I think, sucking on her titty, and then it's like, wait, she was giving birth.
And it seems like he's coming around then too, like exactly, after the birth. So, and then he goes in and he sees the kid. He's like,
he's holding the kid, but well, this look on his face when you're watching, and he's like looks mortified while he's holding the kid, and it's just like, what? Reminded me a lot of Vikings. I just thought, like,
yeah,
this is Ragnar when Ivar was born.
Yeah,
right here. Like, this is like maybe he watched that scene, but Fergus like walks away like distraught, and Marsali gets the baby and loves the baby. So we're trying to figure out what's going on, and the kid has dwarfism. So come to find out later, like, more demons haunt Fergus. So Fergus actually had a friend from the brothel who was a dwarf as well. Back when he was and he said he's more worried for his son's future because he saw how that person was treated, and like they were exploited for being short and for being like a exotic sex guy, like, and then he found his friend in the street with his throat slit. So he's got like some trauma from that specifically, and he knows how this kid is going to grow up being bullied and treated differently his whole life.
And then, of course, the episode starts with him being sent down the river by some kids because they think he's evil. And
I know, and it was the kids that did it. And it's
kids.
I think this goes back to Tom Brown. I think.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. I guess I looked at it as Tom Brown has been like starting to fill this town with sort of like messages of like evil and the
Oh,
devil.
Christie,
And
you mean Tom
what I
Christie?
say? Fuck me. So
Okay.
I think this goes back to Tom Christie a little bit too,
Yeah.
because it seems like he's starting to feed this town with like tales of the devil and witchcraft and um demons, and like all these kids said like the baby was a demon because it was a dwarf or something, like, and they didn't want to touch it. They tried to fucking kill it.
Yeah, I think it was definitely him that was riling up this.
Like, I don't think he necessarily, yeah, if he directly told them that, but he definitely has been planting seeds of this crazy religious fanatic
Yeah.
kind of
Be
stuff. So,
judgmental of things that are different. Is what
Yeah.
he was going to do. So, yeah, and that's when Roger saves the kid, and then it sort of just pushes Fergus over the edge even more. Like you said, remembering his friend, and then he's also doesn't have a hand, so he's always been self-conscious of, not always, but he's been self-conscious of that too.
Right.
I'd say that since he's had to sort of step up and become more involved in like the combats and defense stuff with Jamie, and the rebel stuff, I think he's always been a little more self-conscious just since then.
Yeah.
In the show. And
I would agree. Yeah.
so he's got that, and like you said, with his feelings of guilt with Marsali, and now he's got his kid doing this. So
and then he sees him like wandering off with a knife, right?
Yeah, and he's wandering off into the woods with a
Jamie.
knife.
Jamie does, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he confronts him, and Fergus is basically like, I think they'd be better off with a father,
and he was
who can actually
his
defend
wrist.
them. Yeah, he slit his wrist. Better off with a father who can defend them, and Jamie coming into bro mode here for a bro moment.
It was great
to remind Fergus of like all of the awesome shit he's done and how like good of a husband he's been, how he's like just been an awesome all around dude. And Jamie's got to like just push that into his skull and remind him.
He's like, didn't you see seasons 2 through 5? Like,
yeah, you were great.
You're a great character.
Yes. And I think it helps. I think that's when Fergus does finally start to turn again, right?
Yeah. He's still just not the same Fergus the rest of the season, though. We don't see him or Marsali a lot more after that.
Right.
But he still doesn't ever look the same. He's always looks disheveled and just terrible when you see him.
Sweaty, and like, you can just tell he's different from the seasons before.
But I think, I could be wrong. I think that might have even been a moment that wasn't from the books that they added in. But it was one of my favorite parts of the season was him and in the confusion with Marsali, and then gonna go kill himself. And
it's weird to call it a favorite because I did not like seeing Fergus.
I didn't like
that.
it. No.
But it was interesting.
It was interesting.
It was something that kept me engaged in the show.
Yeah. And so yeah, that was pretty much resolved then with that. He goes back home. We don't really see much of them rest of the season.
No.
Like we said then, we see things. Jamie gets accused of impregnating Malv, and then
it pisses me off too because the shit Jamie even did for Tom Christie in this season.
I know. Like
Tom Christie's got wicked trigger finger.
Yeah.
And Claire's like, I just got to do a trigger finger release, easy surgery. And like she offers him the ether, she offers him alcohol, and like a stick to bite, and he's just like, nah, I'm gonna read this scripture. And the pain is so bad that they like can't even read the scripture. And freaking Jamie, even though he doesn't like believe in like what this guy is like doing, goes and starts reading him the scripture,
and he puts a hand on him,
It's just like,
and Claire, who he's been hating on, calling a witch. But you know what I think it is I think Tom Christie likes Claire, and I think that the fact that she's like so independent and smart and like does do things that makes him think she's a witch, I think confuses him.
I agree. Yeah, I think he's like really confused
because like then she's smart.
Yeah,
and she healed his hand, and he's like, well, those are awesome, wonderful things, but all the other things that I'm judgmental of make me hate her. So I think it makes him hate himself then for liking
It's
her.
complex. It's deep and complex. And also he's got this sort of
like why too he goes to her for it wasn't because like he couldn't open a book. It was because he couldn't whip his daughter.
I know. Oh, this is nuts.
He's like, oh, my hand, I can't whip my daughter.
Well, I think she had offered to work on it before and he refused because he believes in, I think he like believed that God gave him this for some reason that he didn't know. And like, that's why he didn't want to work on it yet.
Yeah.
Because this is what God wanted. And he didn't believe in her medicine is sort of witchy and not his style. So, but when he can't whip his daughter, like that's when it's just too far. Like Jesus Christ, it's so messed up.
God wants me to whip my daughter.
I know. Oh my God. And then too, he like has this demented mind. Like he just assumes because Jamie read the scripture to him during that, like Jamie was doing that like as a power move or to like show that I'm better than you, even though Jamie just do it. I think Claire said like Jamie would do that for a stranger. Like it's not that
Jamie's just a nice guy.
He's like trying to prove anything to you by reading you the scripture. He's trying to help you.
Yeah. So then when he's one of the people then that's even accusing Claire of murdering Malv, it's kind of like, dude, like he lets you stay here and you're an asshole.
I know, but like, I do think he came to terms. I think he like, I don't know. I think he deep down knows she didn't do it though.
Yeah.
You know, and
one of the things that leads to Christie is this before where he sort of seems like he's on their side with this trial then is Richard Brown then and the safety patrol come up to arrest Claire for murdering Malv because that's what everyone's saying. And of course he just wants to take any chance he can get to fuck with the Frasers because of his brother. Of course. So he rides up with his crew, and he says he's there for Claire. And Jamie goes out to meet them. They start beating him, and they send a guy in the back to try and get Claire. And she's like, no way. I am never going with one of those Brown brothers again, man. I'm not going with one of those guys ever again. And so when his guy comes in there to get her, she's like, screw Hippocratic Oath. Bam, shoots him in the stomach, sends him out.
Oh yeah,
rides out with the flintlock and just starts blasting dudes.
And this part was in like the intro video to like every episode, and I was always like, "What? When is this gonna happen? Like this looks intense." And it was. It lived up to the hype.
This was a great scene.
She storms out and just starts shooting. Yeah, really good, really good.
Yeah, and Jamie kicks some dudes' asses, and he goes inside, and they just start. It just feels like an old like Western or like pioneer shootout movie at this point. Man, I was loving this when they're just husband and wife getting the guns and going out the window, just shooting at guys. It was frustrating though. It kind of ends when Richard Brown comes up and like waves a truce flag and basically he's like, I'm just gonna take Claire for a trial. We won't hurt her, you know. And Jamie like doesn't shoot him. He shoots around him. I'm just like, why don't you just shoot him in the face?
No.
I was like, what? Like you've already shot one guy at least. I think they've shot it. I think they might have shot a few other guys. So it's like, shoot this guy. This is the guy we need to shoot.
Yeah.
They'll all leave. And this is the guy. This is the only guy who's like forcing this stuff. You know, maybe there's another guy who's last name Brown.
But this is the one who. There's definitely not anybody else in the show named Brown. That is too obscure of a last name.
It's too obscure.
You know,
too random.
You know, so that's probably my favorite moment from the season.
Yeah, I would say
standoff. I think you know, this is where I was like, okay, we had like the murder happen. Somebody murdered her. It was crazy. They have these accusations. It's frustrating, but it's interesting. And now we're getting this like shootout. Like things are getting good.
Yeah. And I like the moments after this too, just with Claire and Jamie at night then holding out, and they start going over Jamie's like past lives. Essentially, they say he had a fortune told by him that he was like a cat or something like that with 9 lives. And they go over, how many times have I almost died? And they start counting through, and they're like, oh, six times. And so like, oh, you got 3 more. So whatever happens next, you'll be all right because you got at least 3 more here. And I was like, in my head, I was thinking, all right, let's just say that's all he's had. Okay. First of all, I feel like there's been more, but let's stick with that. But like Claire, if she's a cat, she's not a cat. And she's like almost died like 1,000,000 times over.
Oh, yeah.
Like first season alone was probably 9 lives, right? Like at least once an episode, there was someone trying to kill her or assault her or something, right?
Right.
So, but I still thought it was a good moment. And I'm willing to bet that's going to like come back into play then somehow. The fact that they brought that up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In some later season or something, but they eventually then, even the people of Fraser's Ridge are like coming up and like, you guys are evil and you're the ones who did it. And then Richard Brown's like, I don't know. It's just all these people agree with me. And even though it's been me who's been shouting the rumors to everyone around here. And
yeah.
And then so they all agree. Jamie's guys roll up then too, with some guns. But you know what? I was like, come on, why don't we just like start shooting into the crowd? I mean, like.
Oh, whoa.
No, hear me out.
No. I don't want to hear any more of that.
Listen, we got all the good guys roll up. These are all the bad folks, right? These are the people, that they're the ones who are lying. It's probably one of those guys out there really accusing Jamie, who's like the one who impregnated and killed, because we don't know who killed Malv, right? We don't know.
No.
We don't find out this season. So one of those people and I am willing to bet they're the one leading the charge for this, right? But anyway, though, they decide, don't do that. Like, if you take both of us, we'll go. But like, someone has to come with us to make sure that you just don't kill us on the road.
Right. I like this point. Yeah.
And it was that was when Tom Christie steps up and he's like, there's been enough death. I'll do it. And that's when he's just like, oh, okay.
And I feel like he's like keeping an eye on Claire.
Yeah, I think
like
that's
a weird sort of protective eye on her in a weird way. It's like it's conflicting because he's also accused her of killing his daughter, and I think he deep down knows that.
I think he knows it wasn't them.
It wasn't her. It just doesn't seem like Claire, and he knows Claire decently at this point. So,
and they begin riding off then to go to trial. The closest town, they're doing the revolution. So they don't have any.
Just do the revolution.
Your mustache looks really cool like that.
It looks really cool right now. I was just noticing that
you should do
on the camera. Like, I kind of this is a discovery moment, people. Like, this is like a new look.
It really is.
Like, it's like I noticed like this side. I don't know if I scratched and like the mustache went up like that. And I was like, oh,
a lot
cool.
Of
and then I did the same over here.
Mustache.
I know. I'm thinking what I might do now, but like not get rid of the beard. Like I might go like trim the beard, but
shorter?
Not the mustache.
Yeah.
Let the mustache grow in thicker, so that way I don't just have a mustache, but like I can kind of go a little like Old West style, like with a mustache and like a ruffy beard. Yeah. Maybe keep like a patch here. I don't know.
I'm all about this.
This is history happening right here.
I'm all about this.
This is wild. Like now I got to start getting some mustache wax.
You should. I was just thinking. I was like, you need to wax it. So
I'm never gonna look the same again. Like I'm thinking this could be revolutionary. Like I could wear this look for years.
You really could.
Okay. I'm glad we shared this moment together. This is fantastic.
This is great.
It doesn't really matter because I have to wear a mask at my job anyway, so nobody can see my beard. That's partially why I don't shave it as often as I used to, because I just don't have to.
Yeah.
A wild thing too. Like the mask is from here, right? Like covers from here and here, right?
Yeah.
When I started working at this place, I had a full beard. All right, just like this. And it wasn't until I took my mask off, probably months later for the first time to take a sip of water, that people were like, whoa, you have a beard. I'm just like, my man, like, can't tell I have a beard.
But people have done it to me too. And the thing is, like, I still have like this hair poking out underneath. You know what I
I
mean? Like,
know.
and like I'm nowhere near as dense as you here, but I still have had this hair at my last couple jobs. You know,
Yeah. And it's
just,
clearly not like like a sideburn that stops and like.
no, for you, it's like super obvious you have a full beard too.
Apparently not. Apparently not.
Like for me, I'm like, maybe it's not very dense here, maybe, but like for you, yeah, that's people are just not really observant then.
It's just crazy. Because people don't look at me ever, I think, is what that says.
Yeah, no one looks
Nobody notices me until the beard. People have always only noticed my beard.
But anyway, though, Mr. Christie goes with them along the way to the trial. The first town they try to go to trial is not in session because there's a revolution going on. So they have to go over to another one. And all the way to, Richard Brown is like saying, it's going to be a fair, that's what he's telling people. He's like, it's going to be a fair trial. That's what he like tells the townspeople. That's what he tells Claire and them. He's like, it's going to be fair. That's what he tells Tom. And as soon as they're out and away, he's like, Claire killed a person. She killed a girl and ate the baby. And like, and like they're riding through like this camp of just like degenerates. And he's just like, and in our truck, we have Claire who killed a woman and sold the baby. And like everyone's like, they start throwing rocks and like Jamie even like punches a guy out. And it's Christie then who like makes everyone stop. I think he shoots a gun up. Also, Christie, like here, I noticed too, I couldn't tell if he was just like angry about what was going on or if he's like ill now.
Yeah.
And but anyway, though, that like keeps happening everywhere they go. Richard Brown just like yelling, it's her, she did it.
Yeah.
Eventually they come to a place and they separate Claire and Jamie, and he sends Jamie with some guys, and then he takes Claire, and that's when I'm just like, if we do this again, like I am just gonna find Gabaldon and like poop on her front porch.
Jesus Christ.
If she wrote it, right? And I mean, my pooping on her front porch is nowhere near as bad as what she's done, the people. Yeah. Anyway, though, so she goes and she gets locked up in prison.
Yeah.
And Chrissy comes over and he's like, and she's like, can you please check on Jamie? Like, they're gonna kill him for what we did to his brother.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna just stay here and make sure you're safe. That's all I'm gonna do. And so Jamie then is left all alone with these guys. And it's interesting because I'm thinking, I remember what I was gonna say early on when we were talking about Aidsmere, is I was thinking, are we going back to Scotland with Jamie? Because they say they're sending him overseas back to Scotland. I think, I don't know if they were going into slavery or what, or I think maybe even the guy talked about maybe killing him or something after they sold him or something. I can't remember. The guy was a douche though. The guy who was going to send him onto the boat. And I just love this moment here because normally when bad things start to happen in Outlander, the bad thing happens before anyone gets saved. So like no one gets saved. Like it's this moment that happened. Like, I don't know if it's ever happened. Well, except that one time Claire saved Jamie from Jack Black, like the first time from prison. That was like, that's the only other time I can think of, like before a bad thing happens. But even then, it was still like a bad thing still kind of happened.
Right.
It just didn't get as worse.
Or when Jamie saved Claire.
That's what I mean. Yeah, when Jamie saved Claire.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I mean. I don't know if I said that.
Through the window.
Yeah, through the window. When he came through the window with the gun, but it turns out the gun wasn't loaded. And they just leave Jack Black laying on the ground alive. Yeah. But anyway though. And here we go. We've got and we see him. He talked to young Ian on the way when they did stop for camp when he was still with the main group. Jamie did. And now young Ian and a group of Mohawk are showing up on the ridgeline, just shooting down on the beach, killing these asshole guys. They ride down on the horses, and also too, I thought it was going to be one of your favorite moments was when young Ian shoots a bow into a guy, or an arrow into a guy, and then we scope on him and he lowers the bow. Just like Edward did.
Well, I said it watching it live. I was like, "Oh, Edward moment, Edward moment."
Edward from Last Kingdom season
4,
Tetton Hall.
One of the best moments of that battle.
That's what we decided was our best moment. Rock, paper, scissors.
We did. A lot of great moments in that battle. Yeah. But great Outlander moment. One of the shining moments of the season from Outlander season 6, for sure.
Yeah.
Happening at one of the last moments of the season.
I was literally like, here we go with the show picking up. Because then they go down to the beach and the last guy ends up getting Jamie held like sort of a hostage, holding a gun to him because Jamie's just tied to a post right now.
Yeah.
And I love this moment. This one Mohawk warrior just starts like rolling up on the guy and you're just like, what's gonna happen? And the guy like puts up his hand then to stop him, and he just shoots right through his hand into his eye and kills the guy. And that was awesome. I love that.
That was crazy.
That was one of my favorite moments from the show, which is happening.
And I'll tell you what, it felt like it was getting really good at this point. I was okay, now we're rolling. This episode
has been solid. This episode has been so good.
Probably, easily the best of the season.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, this is great. Season's getting better. It's going to finish strong. And I was watching it week by week at this point. Right. So episode 8 comes out. I was like, oh, great cliffhanger. Can't wait till next week to watch it. Cause I did not know, I had not read anywhere that was only going to be 8 episodes.
Oh man.
And so the next week came by. I was like, oh, maybe they're skipping a week again. Next week. And then I looked it up and I saw it's done. I was like, you kidding me?
Yeah. It literally just, they get Jamie free and they ride on the beach and it just ends. It's just credits. There's usually at the end of the season, there's like a voiceover from Claire, like near the end saying like, and I learned that the heart in time and time is the thing and precious moments. And like, that's like, there's something along those lines is what she says. And like, there was none of that. There was no talk. There was no like cutting. It was just like riding on the beach. Done. Season over now.
Yep.
There wasn't like a wrap up of like showing where everyone was and like how it was just like done.
Yep.
And that makes it so obvious that they were literally like, we're running out of money and we are tired of dealing with these COVID restrictions and setbacks and financial limitations. We are done today. This is all we have shot and we are done.
I know. And
it's unfortunate.
Tough place to end it because you just got the momentum going. Just got me on the edge of my seat, ready for more, and severely disappointed there was not another episode after that. So
they've been filming season 7 this year, 2022. Yeah. So I think they might have wrapped recently-ish, or maybe they're still going. But so I think maybe 2023 we'll have.
Hopefully, it's like a 16-episode season to make up for.
I think I heard it's going to be longer or like longer episodes or both is what I think I heard. Maybe.
Hope so. I hope they redeem for ending it early. I know it was outside of their control. Yeah. But it really like.
But still, I think they could have edited a lot out in the middle. And honestly, I think I would have liked the season better if it was even shorter. Like if it was 6 episodes where we have the accusation earlier on and we have the going off to the trial, the shootout, maybe even break up the shootout from the final episode and have the shootout in the episode before and then the rest of the episode, to sort of break up some of the action and keep that momentum going. But anyway, too, one big thing we forgot to talk about. They at one point, it was the same episode as, let me see. It was the same episode as we see Malva screwing Mr. Henderson in the church. A couple things we didn't mention in that episode. But one of them, though, the first one I was going to mention, speaking of prison, though, is we see a guy whistling a future song in a cell. We don't see his face or anything, though. But it's just
represent. Gotta represent.
That was it.
That's future, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a song that wasn't of the so like remember
where was the song on the timeline?
The song probably originated from here, right? But
where did Claire originate from?
Claire was more here. I can't lower this.
Which finger is Claire? Oh,
Claire is my ring finger. On my right hand. And of course, the prisoner is my index finger of my left hand.
Right.
This is my left hand for those watching. Of course, so he's here singing a song from here. Claire was first from here. Now, because she went back and now.
Which song was it? Was it the Aberdeen song?
I forget what it was. It's like.
No. I mean, was it Aberdeen or was it Yesterday by the Beatles? Like, I don't know. Like which?
I don't know. Both.
Okay, so he whistled both those exact songs. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, though, so I don't know what that was, but there's a guy. That's important to know. We'll see something with him, maybe. Otherwise, it didn't make any sense. Also, that episode too, the beginning episode had a flashback with Bonnie Prince Charles actually doing the moment from the song. So the song, the opening song, Sing Me a Song About a Lad, in the original song that the Outlander song is based on, is Sing Me a Song About a Lad Who Is Gone, Say Could That Lad Be a... And it's actually about Bonnie Prince Charles dressing up as a woman to escape the country and go to the Isle of Skye. And we actually get to see him dressing up as a woman and getting past the redcoats here, going off Skye, which I never thought we would see in the show. And it didn't really make any sense why we saw it, because it didn't really impact the episode at all, unless maybe that was him in the cell and he's from the future now or something. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was cool to see. I also agree.
Cool
it just seemed out of place. This is maybe a little fan service.
I think it's fan service. You know what I bet it was too, is that they were like, all right, well, we can shoot in this remote area and we can get this actor, and we can fill up some runtime in this otherwise uneventful season, and we can show this scene. Right. Is what I kind of thought, but it was cool to see. It was fan service, but that was one of the flashback moments I thought was kind of cool.
Totally.
So yeah, I think that's all the big moments. Again, there's still kind of a lot to talk about from what did happen, but it was really spaced out, and I would say other seasons have had more eventful things. Other episodes, I would say, had more eventful things than half of this season did.
Yeah.
A single episode had more than this half of the season. So
there was a whole dysentery epidemic that happened that was
completely forgot about it.
Gross. But yeah, so that was
Claire got a haircut from that, So.
Claire got a haircut, which was not a great haircut.
No.
1 out of 10 recommend.
1 out of 10 recommend that barber or stylist.
So, yeah. Overall, again, not the greatest season. There were outside factors that impacted. I think it could have been a great season had it fleshed out the end. I think that's what it was. It's okay to have slow moments to build, but when that's the bulk of the season, that hurts it. That hurts the score.
Yeah, I would say, like we said with the first episode when I was watching, I was like, this is kind of slow, but I was like, this is a good build though. Like we got to see some flashback from Scotland, Outlander. We're getting this stuff. So
I'll still be very excited for season 7 to come out.
I'm still excited.
Love the show.
And with the momentum it has going, I hope they just keep rolling into the beginning and whatever else next.
I know I'll probably have to go back and rewatch at least that last episode going into this one, just because it was so epic and
dense.
And this led right into a huge cliffhanger.
Or you could just listen to this podcast, because we just recapped all the big moments for you, everyone.
And this was way more
interesting.
Thrilling. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, but let us know your thoughts. Maybe you love this season. Were we wrong? Were we looking at this wrong?
What the hell's wrong with you?
They had the show. One of the episodes was called "The World Turned Upside Down," and they didn't address any Revolutionary War stuff. Although we did get that news clipping about the Boston Tea Party from Claire.
They were like, "Hey, there's some interesting things happening somewhere else."
It's happening. It's starting, and it really is. It really is starting. Obviously, that was just the very beginnings of the Revolutionary War. So it's about to go down.
It's about to.
And if you want to go down, you should check out. Anyway. Yeah, that's it.
What was your favorite moment from the season?
I think favorite moment was Claire comes out blasting.
That was mine too. It was
definitely
honestly, the whole finale I thought was pretty good. It felt like a classic Outlander episode with even more action, I would say, than some other Outlander episodes have had. The shootout was great, other than Jamie just not shooting Richard Brown for some reason.
Yeah.
The character motivations of Christie being what he is interesting, and then the escape at the end with young Ian, that was pretty cool. So, and in the talk between, I just love seeing Claire and Jamie be on good terms with each other. You know, it's honestly, it's like, I think for the show it doesn't create drama, but I like The Last Kingdom because it's when the bros are tight. I just like that. And
what's your bro moment of the season?
Bro moment of the season would be Jamie probably keeping Fergus from killing himself.
Same.
That was just an awesome moment.
It doesn't feel like there's a ton to pick from this season.
No.
I think Josiah and Keziah Beardsley had a few bro moments themselves this season.
I think they had a lot off screen.
Lizzy had a lot of bro moments this season that we didn't get to see. But
I hope we get some deleted scenes.
Anti-bro moment from Jamie making them split up. Bros, that's an anti-bro moment. Like they're all consenting to this.
Someone has to get married. Someone's got to get married, and someone's got to leave.
Like, Jamie, stay out of it, bro. They're all consenting. Not okay.
What happens on the ridge stays on the ridge.
Not true.
Not true.
Not true.
But should be.
Well, it should be, but Jamie doesn't have that. So yeah, let us know what you think. Did you like the incestual three-way relationship? Did you not like that? Just let us know your thoughts on that specifically, and then enter a few times and tell us any other thoughts you had.
If you made it this far into the YouTube video, make sure you comment incest below, and we'll give you a like, a thumbs up, a heart, and
$1,000,
1,000 pesos. So make sure you like the episode here, subscribe, check out our kick-ass video where we did get to meet some of the actors from Outlander as well as Last Kingdom. There's no interviews on it, but you get to see some stuff. It was fun. Make sure to check that out. It's different for us. Like, subscribe, and it's like we always say, Colby,
goodbye.